When you think of AC/DC, you think pure hard rock, big riffs, a wall of sound, the kind of rock and roll that can shake your foundation. No pun intended. But here's the thing, by the end of the 1980s, AC/DC wasn't looking so good. Their shows were still loud, guitars still screamed, but there was something missing. Album sales were down, critics were not impressed, and even some longtime fans wondered if the band's best days were behind them. And then came 1990, and with it, The Razor's Edge. This album put AC/DC back on top. Today, we're looking at why The Razor's Edge was the ultimate comeback record, the one that proved they weren't anywhere near done. I remember when this one came out, I had been listening to AC/DC since Back in Black. I was about 10 years old, but when I was a teenager, I started buying their albums. The first one I bought as a new release, I believe, was Blow Up Your Video, which I didn't like that much. But then a few years later, I remember buying this album, and I really liked it. So to continue the story, we're going to go back in time and rewind a little bit. After Back in Black became a big hit in 1980, one of the best-selling albums ever, AC/DC spent most of the decade chasing that same lightning strike. Albums like For Those About to Rock kept them in the game, but by the mid to late 80s, the cracks were showing. Records like Flick of the Switch in 1983, Fly on the Wall from 1985, and Blow Up Your Video from 1988 had their moments, but none of them came close to the magic of Back in Black. Critics said the band was repeating themselves, sales were sliding. Behind the scenes, things weren't much better. Malcolm Young, the band's rhythm guitarist and main songwriter, was dealing with alcoholism, and the drummer's chair seemed like it had a revolving door. The question was simple: could AC/DC bring the thunder again without changing who they were? The answer started with a couple of big moves. First, they brought in a new producer, Bruce Fairbairn, the guy who had recently helped give Aerosmith and Bon Jovi a second wind. Fairbairn knew how to make a band sound huge and modern without losing their grit. Then came Chris Slade on drums. He wasn't flashy, but he was a rock-solid drummer. He hit like a hammer, and that was what AC/DC needed to tighten up their sound. And with Malcolm back on track, Angus Young still firing off riffs like a man possessed, the band walked into the studio with one goal: remind the world why AC/DC matters. The very first track answered every question everyone had about AC/DC's future. Thunderstruck exploded out of the gate. Angus's hypnotic guitar intro is instantly iconic. A riff so infectious, it feels like it was designed to take over stadiums, and that's exactly what it did. Then came Moneytalks, a cheeky, hook-filled anthem about greed and somehow turned into one of their biggest U.S. hits. Only AC/DC could make a song about money and feel like a good time. But the album isn't just about its singles. The title track, The Razor's Edge, is darker, moodier, and it was a different type of song, but it works. Fire Your Guns is pure speed and adrenaline. Are You Ready is a call to arms, and even deep cuts like Got You by the Balls and Goodbye and Good Riddance to Bad Luck have that unmistakable AC/DC swagger. One track that always raises an eyebrow is Mistress for Christmas. It's AC/DC at their cheekiest, an upbeat bluesy rocker full of sly holiday innuendo. Released as a single around Christmas time, the song plays like a raunchy gift wish list, like a killer groove. Brian Johnson delivers the lyrics with a wink, and Angus's playful riffs make it impossible not to grin. Fans often point out that the song was reportedly inspired by then real estate mogul Donald Trump, who was constantly in the tabloids for his high-profile relationships in the late 1980s. Whether you hear it as a holiday parody or a tongue-in-cheek jab at over-the-top wealth, it's proof that AC/DC could still have fun while sharpening their edge. The key here is that there's no filler. Every track feels alive, sharp, and deliberate, something the band hadn't quite pulled off in a while. Here's the thing, timing is everything. By 1990, glam metal was starting to fade. Grunge hadn't fully taken over yet. Rock fans were hungry for something real, something loud, and something no-nonsense. AC straight ahead, riff-driven sound was exactly what the people needed. Released on September 21st, 1990, The Razor's Edge went multi-platinum around the world. In the US alone, it sold over 5 million copies. Thunderstruck became an instant classic, blasting from radios, sports arenas, and MTV all over the planet. Even the critics, who'd been pretty rough on the band in the mid-80s, had to admit AC/DC had found their fire again. A comeback album is one thing, but AC/DC is a live band at heart. If they couldn't bring it on stage, none of this would matter. Luckily, the Razor's Edge World Tour was a monster. The shows were massive, the energy was off the charts, and the new songs fit perfectly next to classics like Back in Black and Highway to Hell. They even recorded one of the most legendary concerts during this run, live at Donington, filmed in front of 70,000 screaming fans in the UK. If you ever need proof of how powerful AC/DC was during this era, that performance says it all. So why did the Razor's Edge succeed where a few of their 1980s albums didn't? It wasn't about reinventing the wheel, it was about sharpening it. First of all, the album had better production. Bruce Fairbairn gave a crisp, heavy sound that hit hard, didn't feel overproduced. This was important because some of the albums before it, like Fly on the Wall, had not so great production, so this was a plus. The second factor was their focused writing. Malcolm and Angus came in with killer riffs and hooks, no wasted tracks, no half-baked ideas. They also had fresh energy. Chris Slade's drumming gave the band a tighter, punchier backbone. The album came out at the right moment. Rock fans were ready for music that felt real again, and AC/DC delivered just that. It was the perfect mix of timing, talent, and a little bit of stubbornness. More than 3 decades later, The Razor's Edge is still one of AC/DC's strongest albums. Thunderstruck has become a cultural powerhouse. It's played at sports events and commercials, movie soundtracks, and of course at every AC/DC concert. The record proved the band didn't need to chase trends or reinvent themselves. They just needed to sound like AC/DC at their best. It set the stage for everything that came after, from Ball Breaker in the mid-90s to Black Ice and their 2020 album, Power Up. If Back in Black was the album that made AC/DC legends, The Razor's Edge is the one that reminded the world those legends weren't going anywhere. The Razor's Edge is a masterclass in how to pull off a comeback. The band didn't panic, didn't chase fads, didn't overthink it. They just got focused, wrote incredible songs, and let the music do the talking, even though that probably should have been saved for an Aerosmith video, but whatever. Let me continue. If you want to see where this drive and focus started, you got to check out my deep dive on Back in Black, an album that set the bar for AC/DC back in 1980, and you can find it on my channel. I'm going to link it right over there, and you can watch that next. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Please like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe. If you have not already, I do rock and metal reviews and rankings and more and all that good stuff. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.